Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. Every text you send, every video you watch, every secret you Google at 2 a.m. is traveling through the ocean, not through satellites, through cables-thick fiber-optic cables lying silently on the ocean floor. Now here's the scary part. What if I told you most of those cables are not owned by governments, but by a handful of tech companies you use every single day? When people talk about the internet, they imagine clouds, satellites, or something wireless and invisible. But the truth is much heavier, darker, and deeper. Over 95% of the world's internet traffic moves through undersea cables, stretching across oceans like a hidden nervous system of the planet. And while countries argue about borders on land, control of these cables quietly decides who controls global data, power, and influence. Before we go deeper, if you like content that reveals how the world really works behind the scenes, hit like and subscribe right now. This is Global Backbone. And on this channel, we break down the hidden systems that keep the world running, systems most people never even think about. For decades, undersea internet cables were mostly funded and owned by governments and telecom companies. Back then, the internet was slower, smaller, and mostly regional. Countries cooperated, shared costs, and built cables together. But everything changed when data exploded. Streaming, cloud computing, social media, suddenly the internet wasn't just communication. It became the backbone of money, power, and control. That's when big tech stepped in. Today, companies like Google, Meta Platforms, Amazon, and Microsoft don't just run apps and websites. They own massive portions of the physical internet itself. Entire undersea cables, thousands of miles long, are now privately funded and controlled by these corporations. Why would a tech company spend billions laying cables across oceans? The answer is simple: control, speed, and independence. When a company owns the cable, it controls the data flow. That means faster services, lower long-term costs, and less reliance on competitors or governments. For cloud services and AI systems, milliseconds matter. Owning the cable can mean winning the market. Take Google, for example. It has invested in dozens of undersea cables connecting North to many America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. These cables don't just support search or YouTube. They power Google Cloud, AI models, maps, ads, everything. The same story applies to Meta, whose social platforms move enormous amounts of video data every second. Owning cables ensures your Instagram story loads instantly, no matter which continent you're on. But here's the part no one likes to talk about. When private companies own the physical internet, they also gain enormous geopolitical influence. These cables decide which regions get faster connections, which markets grow, and which areas stay digitally isolated. If a cable lands in one country instead of another, it can shift economic power for decades. And because these companies are global, their interests don't always align with national priorities. Security is another concern. Undersea cables are fragile. They can be damaged by earthquakes, fishing nets, or sabotage. When a cable goes down, entire countries can experience slowdowns or blackouts. Now imagine those cables being controlled by private corporations whose infrastructure spans rival nations. Governments worry about surveillance, data privacy, and national security. But once the cables are laid, control is hard to take back. What's even more surprising is how invisible all of this is. You never see these cables. You never agree to their ownership. Yet they shape your digital life every second. From online banking to video calls, from military communications to global trade, everything flows through these lines on the ocean floor. Some people assume satellites could replace cables, but that's a myth. Satellites handle only a tiny fraction of global traffic. They're slower, more expensive, and less reliable for massive data transfer. The real internet lives underwater. The trend is clear. Tech giants are moving from shared ownership to fully private cables. Not partnerships, not consortia. Full control. This marks a shift from a public internet infrastructure to a corporate-owned backbone of the digital world. So the next time your video loads instantly or your cloud files sync without delay, remember this: your data just crossed an ocean through a cable owned by a company, not a country. This raises a big question, and I want you to think about it. Should the world's internet be owned by private corporations? Should it be treated like public infrastructure, similar to roads or electricity? There's no simple answer, but this debate will shape the future of freedom, privacy, and power online. If this video made you see the internet differently, share it with someone who thinks the internet is just Wi-Fi. And I really want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell me who you think should control the world's internet cables. Governments, companies, or no one at all. You've been W.